So why is there a T-posing ghost mounting my Grendel? What is going on with Warframe since the update? Moments like this, my frame running into walls for no reason when I'm not touching any buttons, enemy spawns being completely off in Elite Deep Archimedia, pets or companion AI not working, just them standing there watching as you do all the work instead of them helping out. And now this horny T-posing ghost not leaving my Grendel alone. He's more than just a piece of meat. Hotfix. When? Now, aside from the bugs, they've turned arguably one of the best Warframes in the game right now into a room-clearing juggernaut. And I use that term literally. Grendel is one of the tankiest frames that we have, with a serious sustain because of his heal, his energy regen, high health values, and of course because he can also strip armor. But now he drops vomit bombs. Spitting his food out with this augment will leave a large gas cloud lingering for several seconds, which will then stack toxic procs per second on enemies that will also have had their armor stripped by the ability to begin with. Now this is my Ignatius Grulgor Grendel, the plagued one. So Grendel now has a new augment called Gastro, which doesn't mean he's opened up some new kind of stylish gastropub in Cetus for Konzu to wash his lunch down with. It's basically an augment that you can get off Red Veil or Steel Meridian for 25k standing. Now this augment is for his fourth ability, Regurgitate, where he spits enemies out of his belly, but now they will cause them to bounce 3 times, leaving a 6 meter gas cloud for 8 seconds on each bounce. So 3 bounces means multiple instances of applying a toxic proc and the explosion when the body impacts the ground on each bounce as well. It's a really fun augment. Now the initial bounce of the enemies hits hardish, applies 1 toxic proc, and then it leaves a cloud that lingers and ticks for 1 toxic proc per second while that cloud is active. Like I said, it is for 8 seconds at base, which can be increased with duration mods. You can also increase the radius of those gas clouds and the explosion with range mods as well. Now the toxic procs aren't huge, but when you group enemies up or you find a nice little narrow hallway where you can stack each bounce on top of one another and also strip armor because his fourth ability already does that, then the ability itself and the augment is very, very powerful. And while Grendel doesn't need any subsumed ability to replace any of his abilities, some of them are obviously going to work really, really well with this augment and this setup. I've gone for Roar on mine instead of his third ability to double dip the damage from those gas clouds, but you could use a grouping mechanic or a grouping ability, or have maybe your Nautilus Sentinel door dashing enemies right to your belly. The more enemies you can group, the more effective the overlap of each of those gas clouds is going to be, which means they're going to deal substantially more damage to one another simply by being beside one another. For this build, you want to focus on range, strength and duration. Efficiency is totally dependent on what you as the player are comfortable with, but this is my build and what I finally settled on. So this is my Grendel build, my Ignatius Grulgor build. Of course, I've got Brief Respite for the aura to, I guess, give me that shield regen. I've got Cunning Drift for more range. I've got Equilibrium to convert health orbs to energy and energy orbs to health orbs. I've got Adaptation to give me damage resistances. I've got Overextended for range, continuity, duration. I've got the Gastro Augment, of course, because that's fundamental to the build. I've got Umbral Intensify and Umbral Vitality for health and of course for power strength, and then I've got Blind Rage to give me much more power strength as well. Now it is a negative efficiency build, which means you're going to have some way to regen your energy. Equilibrium is going to help me with that, as well as having a pet that is going to help me drop health orbs, which will then convert those to energy, and I've also got Arcane Energize just in case to give me more energy as well. Molt Augmented also going to stack my power strength. You could switch this out for Arcane Guardian or whatever the feck you wanted. I'm going for Molt Augmented. You could even go for the battery one, which is going to give me more energy based on the amount of armor I have if you've decided to go for armor somewhere in your build. But this build is going to give me a decent nourish amount. It's going to give me an okay amount with Roar as well. It's going to go up to somewhere around the 80% mark once Molt Augmented kicks in. And then the Gastro is going to have a 12-second duration on those gas clouds as they linger around on the ground, and I've got 160% armor reduction, which isn't really fucking needed, but the power strength is more for Nourish and Roar. Now, if you are new enough to Warframe and you have managed to get your hands on Grendel and you want to know what way could you mod him if you are new to the game, then this will also work. And I have got footage that I'm going to show you in a second against level 220 Steel Path enemies and still how effective it is against those using the Gastro Augment. Even with this build, you will still have 112% armor reduction. You will still have a gas cloud that will linger for over 10 seconds and it will still do a decent amount of damage while proccing those gas procs. Now, if you wanted to, I guess, continue or expand on the theme of having a plague-styled marine, then you could bring a Panzer Vulpaphiler if you wanted to, but I've gone and I've brought my Pharaoh Predasite because I'm enjoying using it right now and I'm enjoying using Kubros with some of the new mods, even though Kubros and Companions for the most part are still broken. And even when I look at my Link health mod on my Companion, it says that I should have 20k HP. On my Sunica Kubro, when I jump into a mission, I only have 10. The same goes for my Pharaoh Predasite. It says I should have 8,000 health, but when I jump into a mission, I only have 4. So there's definitely some hot fixes needed. But this is my Pharaoh Predasite build as well for anyone who was interested in how I went modding him. So this is my Pharaoh Predasite, Roticus Rainmaker. Now, the build with this isn't so much about the endoparasitic vector or the volatile parasite, which are really good. This is basically going to link multiple enemies and slow them down, but then it's also going to deal 20 viral damage to them as well before they move away. Then you've got volatile parasite, which is basically going to put one maggot onto an enemy. It's going to kind of mind control it. Other enemies are then going to shoot at him, and if he dies, he will explode, dealing a big enough chunk of viral damage. But the entirety of this build is based around Duplex Bond, Contagious Bond. Of course, Pack Leader is going to allow me to heal my pet back up because right now they still feel quite squishy. Resourceful Retriever is going to give me an 18% chance at double resource pickups, which is absolutely huge. But Contagious Bond is basically going to allow me to spread multiple effects, and because I'm using the heat mod on its claws, it's going to kill groups of enemies pretty damn quickly. Synth Deconstruct is going to allow me to get extra health orbs on the ground, and because I've got equilibrium on most of my frames, it's going to allow me to regen energy. Now, when it comes to the claws, I've actually gone for the balanced posture and not the frenzied one or the assassin one. Both of them are good. The frenzied one is going to give me a bonus of 80% status duration while it's jumping from enemy to enemy to enemy. And the assassin one, of course, is going to prioritize Eximus units, dealing 300% extra damage to overguard enemies. But the balanced one basically gives me stagger when it passes within 2 meters of enemies. So the priority with the claws was basically Burning Claws is going to give me a huge amount of heat damage. So all I'm going to be dealing is mainly heat damage and of course a bit of slash in there as well. But Bellringer is going to knock enemies down whenever I attack them. So when you combine Bellringer with your balanced posture, you've got knockdowns, you've got staggers, but then with the actual abilities from this Pharaoh Predasite, you're also getting the slow from this ability while linking enemies together, and you're also getting explosions from this. Now you're also getting Duplex Bond, which means every time you spend 100 energy, you're going to clone your Kubro, or your Predasite, sorry. So you're going to have 3 of them running around, running into enemies with that Bellringer, knocking them down. You're also going to be slowing them. Your clones won't use abilities, they'll just be running around using Bellringer and of course staggering and knocking enemies while also just straight up attacking them, and because you're spreading heat procs, it's basically going to prime a lot of enemies. Now, it's not as good as a Verglass Prime or even the Tazakor right now. They, I think, still outperform pretty much every weapon or every pet that we have in the game, but it is fun and good nonetheless. But that's my Ignatius Grendel. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of his new Gastro Augment, if you've managed to try it out yet or not. It's definitely a fun way to play Grendel, and it does make him much more powerful. Not that he was already an incredibly powerful Warframe. But have a great day, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching.